and welcome back to the most amazing channel on the internet. I'm your host Rebecca Felgate, and today we are talking about the top 10 Grim Reaper urban legends. Yeesh. So yeah, it's a spooky one today, and I don't really care for Mr. Reaper so much, but I suppose he/she is the personification of death, so that is understandable. Today in this video we are looking at Grim Reaper legends from all over the world. Honestly, that creep travels far and wide. Before we get into this video, I want to ask you guys if you believe in the Grim Reaper. I'm honestly not sure that I do. Let's have a good Grim Reaper chat in the comment section down below. Okay, coming in at number 10 we have the Japanese legend of Shinigami. In Japan, legend has it that there are terrifying bringers of death by the name of Shinigami. Talk of Shinigami became popular when the East became influenced by the West. Now Shinigami are numerous and are said to work in pairs to ensure that a person dies at the correct time. The legend has it that one day a man was contemplating suicide, but Shinigami came to visit him to tell him that actually it wasn't his time to die, that life is a candle and people have differing lengths. One only dies when the candle burns out, or so the Shinigami say. So they offered the man the ability to see them for the rest of his life and also some knowledge that could make him rich. By being able to see the Shinigami, he was able to see that when visiting a sick person, if a Shinigami was at the end of the bed, it meant that they had a chance to live. If they were at the head of the bed, they would surely die. The man abused this knowledge and took money off families to cure their sick, knowing full well whether they would live or die based on the location of the spirit. One time a family pleaded for him to save a doomed person with a Shinigami at the head of the bed, offering him unfathomable riches. The man decided to trick the Shinigami by rotating the bed. Now this was a bad idea, they didn't like this. To punish him, they burned his life candle to the near end and told him that he could save himself by transferring his candle wick to another's. Unfortunately though, the butterfingered trickster dropped his candle and died. Coming into number 9 we have the Irish legend of the BUNWORTH Banshee. In traditional Irish law, the Banshee is a female spirit who heralds the death of a family member by wailing or singing a lamenting tune. Descriptions of the Banshee vary. She sometimes has long sweeping hair and wears a cloak, but sometimes she's a haggard old woman. Either way, she is a female crying, either tunefully or in wailing fits. It is thought that seeing the Banshee is a clear omen and that death will visit the house she mourns by, although it is hard to tell which family member will be struck. It is said that if 2 or more Banshees are seen together, it marks the death of an important or notable person. The Banshee is rumoured to only lament the descendants of pure Milesian stock of Ireland, so the O-somethings and the Mac-somethings and the Geraldines, but plenty of other Irish stock do also fear the Banshee. Coming into number 8 we have the Mexican and Aztec Days of the Dead. Mexicans kind of have a macabre humour when it comes to death, and I can respect that. Anyone from Mexico watching? Shout at me. The Day of the Dead is a big party in Mexico, and they have La Calavera Catrina, who is a female skeleton wearing a fancy hat. She's basically the personification of death, and she stems back to the Aztec mythology of the Queen of Mictlan. She keeps watch over the bones of the dead and presides over festivals celebrated in the afterlife, early forms of the Day of the Dead festivals. In Mexico, the female figure of death wearing a silly hat kind of satirizes the whole notion of death. If it's something that you can pop a floral bonnet on and party with, it can't be so bad, right? Coming in at number 7 we have the Dance Macabre. The Dance Macabre is a death dance said to be performed by all souls on their way to the grave. The dance stems back to a Middle Ages allegory for death in which bishops, kings, emperors, children, labourers and the homeless would unite together and dance, highlighting the universality of death. The Dance Macabre is depicted in a lot of artworks, with the first ever recorded being a painting at the Holy Innocents Cemetery in Paris. Like the notion of the Grim Reaper, the Dance Macabre was thought up after the Black Death era. Coming into number 6 we have Pester, the Norwegian plague hag. Sucks to be Pester. Plague hag. Pester is like the Norwegian Grim Reaper and came around in Norse folklore following the horrifying Black Death. The Black Death killed half of the population of Norway, so you can really understand why the Norwegians gave the brutal illness, the bringer of death, a human face so they could better understand it. Pesta was the character they created, and these days she is considered to be a general death omen, a lot like the Grim Reaper. She is characterized as being a haggard, ashen-faced woman who wears a red skirt and carries a broomstick and a rake. Now, these are important. The legend from the Plague era goes that if you saw Pesta with a rake, there was some hope of your survival. But if she was spotted yielding a broom, then there was no hope for any of you. These days, Pesta is still talked about as a deathbringer like the Grim Reaper. Once she's seen, it is likely that she's unavoidable. Coming into number 5, we have the Baltic legend of GILTINE. In Lithuania, death comes old, ugly, and with a curious blue nose, as well as a deadly poisonous tongue. GILTINE was once beautiful, but she was trapped in a coffin for 7 years, which frankly is my worst nightmare. The experience scarred her, as I imagine it would anyone, and she became the Watcher of Death on her release. Her job is basically to wait for the right time to kill people, which she does by licking them. Great! Signs that GILTINE is nearby include cracks in the doors, ceilings and walls, and general disturbances amongst animals. Less urban legend and more ancient legend, but perhaps the origin of all subsequent death-related personifications. At number 4 we have Thanos. Thanos is like the original Grim Reaper, although he was always depicted as like an absolute total hottie, which does say a lot about the way the ancient Greeks viewed death versus the way that we view it now. Back in ancient Greek times, death was a passage to the afterlife and less feared than it is now. Humans have subsequently spent thousands of years trying to cheat death. We can fly, but we still have to die, and somewhere along the line death got uglier to us. Anyway, Thanos is generally a babe, if the pictures are anything to go by, although his name does mean to die, which makes him a bit scary. He is the son of night and darkness and the brother of sleep. He would carry an extinguished torch and usher people into the underworld. Coming into number 3 we have the Angel of Death. Ah, the Angel of Death. The Angel of Death is a popular legend amongst the religious. Heaven, hell, angels, demons. In Judaism, the Angel of Death is called Azrael, and he is constantly recording and erasing names of people in a large book of the living. In some descriptions, he has 4 faces and 4,000 wings, which is just many, many wings. Outside of Judaism, the Angel of Death has become a popular symbol, with many people actually claiming to have witnessed the figure as an omen. The title was later bestowed upon one of the nastiest humans to ever live, the Nazi doctor Josef Mengele, who sadly was very, very real. Coming into number 2 we have the Breton ANKOU. In Brittany and France, as well as in some areas of Cornwall and Wales in the United Kingdom, legends of the ANKOU are rife. ANKOU is said to be a henchman of death and a protector of graveyards. Although the ANKOU is always depicted as an adult male wielding a scythe, the legend goes that the position is filled by the last person to die in the parish that year, meaning they change yearly. Every parish has its own ANKOU, and if more people die than usual one year, then people will say things like the ANKOU is particularly fierce of that year. One story says that 3 men saw an old man on a rickety cart one evening and they mocked him mercilessly, throwing stones at him and breaking his wagon. One of the men felt really bad and returned to help him, fixing the cart. In the morning, his hair had turned bright white, and the 2 who had not returned had died. So I've decided to make number 1 an actual real-life Grim Reaper, just to make things scarier, because nothing is scarier than legit history. Get a load of this beaky menace, because he was for reals. We have the Plague Doctor. Ooh, the Plague Doctor really scares me. This is also the only, I guess, like factually affirmative legend on this list, which makes it even worse. The Plague Doctor is so scary because he basically looks like the best villain slash scariest serial killer of all time. An enigmatic figure in history indeed, Plague Doctors wore full cloaks, gloves, and they also had strange beak-like masks with the beak stuffed with pleasant smelling substances like mint or rose petals, which actually sounds kinda nice. Back in the day, people thought the illness was spread by bad smells. Anyway, I don't think from the outside you'd be able to smell it, so really he would just look like a beaky deathbringer. Because the Plague Doctor was tasked with treating the sick, he was seen as a Grim Reaper figure. That and his nightmare-inducing costume. Most of those who contracted the plague did die, so when the Plague Doctor was seen, it really was a symbol of death. Also, the Doctor was tasked with bringing out the dead, so most of the time he basically was just a death omen. Ugh, Plague Doctor, you freaked me out. So guys, that was the top 10 scary Grim Reaper urban legends. What did you think to this list? Should we do more characters in fiction and their urban legends, like Tooth Fairy urban legends? I'd kind of like that. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And don't forget to let me know if you believe in the Grim Reaper. Again, I'm not so sure. I'm your host Rebecca Felgate. You guys can catch up with me on Instagram. There is a link to my Instagram in the description box. But for now, do make sure you like this video, share it with a friend, and stay subscribed for more most amazing lists. Bye!